Ambient noise, yeah.
So now you're grabbing some band lab clips.
Now for me, that would also be something where I would use like volume automation and like bring that from the bottom, like bring it in and then bring it back out. Kind of.
And these are the kinds of sounds you can stretch. With this AI, like stretching it actually can be cool.
Oh, that was perfect for the interlude too.
Ends it right in the right
I
spot.
didn't even notice 40. I didn't even realize the texture faded out at the interlude until it happened. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sometimes you just, it was just meant to be that way.
Hello, my friend. I'm on the right again. Oh, unmute the Glenn.
I clicked it
Ah,
twice.
you're
Twice.
mute.
Once it muted,
Your
once it didn't.
mic. Your mic had stage fright. Go figure.
Yeah. But now it's back and has the presence. So happy Thursday. Some good technique. We've got some stuff going on for tonight. I said stage presence, stage fright, going back and forth, talking about both, how they interact a little bit. We'll see what we get there.
Well,
We've got some
yes,
fresh new pages.
they're interrelated. When I started searching, Ange gave me the idea on Monday. We got into this topic of stage fright, and I thought this would make a great one for Thursday. And as I was searching for stage fright, the term that kept coming up was stage presence and the importance of having stage presence to counter stage fright.
Yep, it's important. And that's the thing is, there are different tricks that you can use to counter stage fright if you feel it, but there's also just methods of, having a stage presence in general should help avoid that, because you're just being, you're being yourself, or you're being the character that you're playing on stage when you're up there. So you can kind of, go through that experience to make that person that you are when you're on stage, that persona, has that stage presence and isn't, doesn't have stage fright. So they're not nervous when they go up there. You get that whole kind of thing going on.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of talk about that, like the playing a character, approaching it as a role, and some of it actually doesn't just apply to musicians. With the videos we're going to be looking at, there's one that actually approaches it, from an actor's standpoint, a speaker's
Yep.
standpoint.
Exactly. Yeah, because they all interrelate in some of those, in the crowd facing side of it. It is you by yourself on stage, or, as the focal point of attention, and everybody else is paying attention to you. So, you should have something to say. You should be prepared. You should have a flow of what you're going to be going over. All of that stuff is important if you're just doing a speaking engagement. If it's a song, you should know your song. So you go up there and you play your song, and you know how to do it. You've done it in practice 100 times. So, come out here and just forget all of the issues that you might, have running around in your head, and just play the song and start there.
Yep, and preparation is going to be a common theme you'll see through these.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look and see what we've got here.
Mm-hmm.
So to start off, living pianos caught my attention. I'm surprised I hadn't found this channel before, but he actually has a whole series. That's how I ended up stumbling on this one. He has a whole series on stage presence and stage fright that's multi-part. So for those who want to get more, you should check him out, and check out the series on there. The reason why I chose this one, though, is because it's an overall introduction into stage presence itself, and the importance of having stage presence.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nice.
he kind of goes at it from, like, the recital kind of perspective. He's dealing with piano students and things like that. So it's a good introduction into, having a stage presence and how the audience perceives you.
Mm-hmm.
That one comes from Living Pianos videos over on YouTube, and he's got a website, livingpianos.com.
Nice.
And the next one, this is the one I was talking about, where it gets more into, speaker perspective and how you present yourself on stage, whether you're a musician, whether you're a speaker, whether you're, doing like a musical. She gives great advice all across the board. It covers the whole gamut.
Right.
And I love the name of this channel, because we do like to bring science into our mix. And
Nice.
this is at Science of People. So I will be checking out this channel because I love the psychological aspect of things.
Oh, absolutely. The psychology of, body language in particular is very important. And that's where a lot of the stage presence stuff is: body language cues, use of the space. There's, a lot of different things going on there, but they all interrelate. And psychology is a large part of all of it. So
Yeah.
understanding that, like the overarching principle, and then just seeing how it all fits together. Definitely.
And as you can see, like in her videos that she has available, but the body language is one of the videos. So
Mhm.
this is going to be a useful channel, I think, overall.
Nice.
And then we're going to get into improving your stage presence and what you can do when you're on the stage. These are going to be some on stage tips that are coming from the dinner singer at Promuso 2121. And this is nice advice, when you are on the stage.
Mhm. Very cool. All the new channels for me so far.
And I wanted to get into a little of from a singer's perspective, because a lot of times this is where in the band you might see someone experiencing stage fright. Singers, guitarists tend to be the ones that have a little more nerves sometimes because they're more up in front. So
Mhm.
I couldn't ignore that fact. And I mean, the channel alone kind of told me she's a confidence coach.
Mhm.
So she's at the Confident Singer 7477, and she takes that approach from a coaching perspective. She does a lot of videos on, coaching people to have better stage presence. Thought it
Mhm.
would fit in perfectly with what we're talking about.
Yeah, and confidence is a big part of it. Absolutely.
I think it's the biggest part in some cases.
Mhm.
And then, another challenge with singers sometimes is in between the songs. It's not so much performing the songs, it's capturing your audience and carrying them between the songs that you're playing. So I thought this was a good compliment there. At Smart Music Business, he's going to be talking about learn to speak in between songs during your show performance and
Mhm.
things you can do to, like, whip the crowd up.
Oh yeah, and there's definitely
Hello, Detroit.
there's definitely some do's and don'ts, and saying hello, yeah, oh, yeah, Detroit when you're in Chicago, definitely not good. You got to make sure you
Yeah,
know the name of your town, know where you are. That's important.
yeah. Well, that's where being prepared comes in
Yes.
handy.
Do your research.
And that's going to be coming from at Smart Music Business Videos,
Mhm.
which, again, the channel names like attract me sometimes as we're hunting through these things.
Oh yeah, and they come up in our feed for a reason.
Yeah. And this one I added because it comes from the perspective of a parent in this particular one. And he talks about, like, how he's got some kids that are musical, and they came to him saying, that, like, the kids like to play when they're in front of him,
Mhm.
but they have a tough time playing in front of others. And that's actually what we were talking about on Monday was
Mhm.
you can have these kids who are very outgoing when they're comfortable with the audience that they're in,
Mhm.
but you get them into a room full of strangers, and this is where the stage fright starts to kick in.
It
And
definitely changes the dynamic for sure.
yeah, and David taught the Patrick Bet David, he talks about, like, how he approached this with his kids.
Mhm.
That one comes from at Valuetainment over on YouTube. Monster channel, 5.26 million subscribers. He's got a lot of stuff to do with entertainment and
Mhm.
interesting channel overall.
Mhm. One of the big ones for with kids, for example, for stage fright is piano recitals, just as a beginning, like, kids who have piano lessons, like taking piano lessons as a kid, like I did, we did have recitals, and that was a good introduction to playing in front of people, because it is, just a group of, the parents of the kids who are going to be playing there. So it starts as a very small group, and, then as you play with more people or in front of more people, it's not as intimidating as it would be to just step out on a stage in front of 500 people for the first time, for example. So having a smaller, more trusted crowd to start is definitely a helpful, starting point. So starting them early with that stuff is good.
Yeah, it's certainly a good way to warm up to bigger crowds.
Yeah.
And then to finish it off, this was the guy I was telling you. He's got multiple YouTube channels. A lot of them are guitar orientated, and we've actually followed some of those channels from our guitar night.
Oh, yeah.
And this one's going to be coming from Epic Guitar Instructions. David's going to be talking about the 5 best pro tips to reduce stage fright and nerves and play in front of people. And it really is like coming from a pro level and advice on, upping your game there when you're ready to hit that stage.
I believe David's was one of the first guitar channels that I checked out, actually, when I was getting into looking for stuff on YouTube for guitar instruction. His is one of the first channels I came across.
Yeah, and I recognized him as I was going through, and I ended up having a couple of videos because he covers this topic on the different channels. So I was like, oh, well, I've got, I had 3 at one point. This is one of those topics that was not hard to find stuff for. I found tons, especially when I started searching for stage presence. Stage fright was a little more refined, but stage presence, there is a slew of videos out there. And one thing that I found, a lot of them come from TED Talks, which I would have liked to have included, but the TED Talk videos, unfortunately, they're not so cool with people sharing them. So I stayed away from them. But anybody who's looking to go further into this topic, you search for stage presence on YouTube, you'll find a ton of great TED Talks in there about it, coming from different sides.
Absolutely. And it is, like you said, it's a very important skill if you're going to be getting in front of people for whatever reason, whether it's entertainment, stand-up comedy, science communication, whatever. There's a lot of different reasons why you would get up to speak in front of a crowd, and not being intimidated by it is important. It allows you to convey your ideas, more effectively, and get people on your side.
Yeah, these are skills that are going to help you across the gamut here. So that one's going to be coming from Epic Guitar Instructions, one of his channels there.
Nice.
And again, I liked getting some in here that were coming from the perspective of a guitarist in this case. I think that complements the vocalist subject we're going to look into.
Sure.
Plus, we start with piano. Like, that's
so we know Tony's happy.
That's my jam.
That's his jam for sure. And we do have piano over here.
And I was really glad that I found this channel because, I love the piano channels. And like I said, he actually does have a whole multi-part series that goes into this in more detail. And if you like what you see here, check it out, because it really fills in a lot of the gaps. But what he's going to be talking about here is just in general, the importance of stage presence and why you want to have it. Otherwise, you could be the greatest musician, but if you have no stage presence, the skills can get lost by the audience sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, even as a bass player, I don't consider myself that important when it comes to stage presence, because I'm not the front man. Like you were saying, like the guitar player and the lead singer, they're the ones that are out front, and I'm just in the back in the rhythm section. Like, the drummer and I are just kind of in the back doing our thing, holding down a pocket. But at the same time, I shouldn't just be staring at my hand the whole night. But I do end up doing that a lot. So like I find myself like having to reposition myself so that at least, my hand is out towards the audience so that I can just glance up and look at them or look around the room while I'm doing things.
It doesn't hurt to bob your head once in a while, look out into the crowd, find that pretty girl, wink.
Now, me, I mean, I'm dancing around a little bit, not crazy dancing around, but you know what I'm saying. You know, I'm moving around on stage, holding a rhythm, trying to keep a leg going, keep my head nodding, so that people can keep time on stage. You know, they can use me as a reference, as a metronome kind of thing. But I definitely am not the center point of focus, so I'm not the one trying to be out in front. But the whole talking to people also, when we get to that video, that's one that I've seen bands, I've seen the need for people to talk, and so many people are so bad at it, right? Like somebody in the band, they have to go retune, or that somebody broke a string, they need a minute, right? So it's 1 minute. How hard would it be to just fill 1 minute? Well, turns out it's pretty hard, because if you're standing on stage and you're trying to play a song and you just want to come up with something off the top of your head to talk to to tell a room full of strangers about, and not sound whatever, there's a lot of ways to say things where people, like, they'll be like, how you doing tonight, and nobody answers, and it's like, okay, now what? Right? That's the danger of trying to get a call and response if they're not responding. But you want to whip them up first, right? You want to tell them about take care of your bartenders, and glad to be here on a Thursday night, or whatever it is. Just throwing something out. They're telling a quick story about something that happened on the way over to the place. Whatever. There's ways to fill that time. But it's important to have some way to fill that time, rather than just leaving dead air, because that's no good.
Yeah. And when it comes to the bassists on stage, I think the ones who sing a little bit, do the backing vocals and things like that, tend to have better stage presence than the one who's just noodling on those strings the whole time. A little bit of that along with it forces them to actually make the faces, sing a little bit of a part, and I think that brings them in. And with drummers, the ones who have the presence, they'll be twirling their sticks, or like
making a
throwing
show,
their arms up, and with the guys in the back, you can always tell the ones that are like really into it and have that stage presence.
Exactly. And yes, the singing definitely is a big addition there. Like playing bass and trying to sing background vocals, that is one of the times that I will be looking around more, because I have to get to where the mic is. And, in that case, I am projecting out. So I am already looking out at the crowd. So like, those are the times where, get up there, sing, and you got to have the bass pattern on lockdown, so that I can just ignore my hands and put them on autopilot, and then sing the line I need to sing. Because at first I was always having problems either singing what I'm playing, or playing what I'm singing, or the timing of what I'm playing and singing has to match. Like if I'm singing, bump, 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 I have to play bump, bump, bump. And like if I'm trying to go do at the same time, it's not going to work. But now it's gotten easier. But
it gives you that moment to connect with the audience along with the singer.
Yeah.
It gives more of a unified, like that's when the whole band gets a stage presence, when you see like the whole band come together, sing the background vocals. That always makes for a stronger song, when the whole band comes together like that.
Exactly. And it sounds much more full as well. I have a very deep voice anyway, so like me singing any kind of backgrounds at all puts like a subfloor under whatever anybody else is singing. So it's like I would get that kind of thing, even if it's the same note, which technically you wouldn't normally do. You'd do a harmony where you get two different notes and you're trying to cover more of ground that way. But even if we sing just the same notes in unison, it's me singing so much lower that they sound more full.
You definitely have a voice a subwoofer would love.
I freaked out sound guys that way before. I went out to the mic and somebody wanted me to check the mic. So instead of just coming out and going check, 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 I just came out and went and they just started rumbling the entire stage, and they thought it was a feedback going on from the bass, and they're like, the bass isn't even plugged in. And then I just stopped, and they're like, what happened?
I don't need an amp.
Yep. Nope. Not to get down low. We can do that. But yes, we should get to living pianos.
Yes, let's see the importance of stage presence and what it is.
Welcome to livingpianos.com. I'm Robert Estrin, and today the subject is about stage presence, how much you should move during your performance, how much you should show during a performance. This is a deep subject, and I'll tell you a personal story first, then I'm going to talk about specific pianists and how they emote in the way they look on stage, and you would not believe how important stage presence is. Okay, it was an epiphany for me. In high school, I remember there was a recital of the students, and there was one woman at the time who got up there, and a high school student that is, and she sang, and I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever heard in my life, and I was excited about it, and so much so that I wanted to listen to the tape afterwards, and I went and listened to it, and when I listened to it, I was shocked to discover that it wasn't as great as I thought it was. And I thought, what the heck? How could I have been so off on that? Because I thought it was a phenomenal performance. That was very good and all that, and then I realized afterwards the way she looked at the audience and the vibrancy in her whole presentation made it just such an experience to watch her. And ever since then, I realized the significance of how you look. Now, sometimes when I'm flipping through YouTube, piano competitions to see contest winners, and it's very interesting. And because they're in a contest situation, oftentimes they're very, very robotic, you know. And as a matter of fact, I have a video from years ago about extraneous motion in performance that you should check it out. It's in the description for you. Anyway, but the opposite of moving a lot is just being very, very still. I had an experience years ago of hearing a phenomenal pianist, a great recital, as a matter of fact, of Ivo Pogorelic. And it was an interesting thing how he dealt with the whole performance thing, which is he came out, and just before he came on stage, the lights went completely black. It was like, whoa, you couldn't see anything. It was absolutely pitch black. Just spotlights on the piano. The hall was completely dark. So he comes out, and before the audience even stops applauding, he doesn't look at the audience, he just sits down and plays. Straight ahead business. And it's like, whoa, I hadn't seen that before. The playing was so superb, though, that it really didn't matter, but it was one extreme style. And if you're on that level, maybe you can get away with that. Now, a polar opposite of that is someone like Lang Lang, who shows everything. And you know, for those people who are less sophisticated musically, there's actually a lot of merit to that, because you might not realize the mood of a piece, but when it's shown, you know, with gestures and such, or even on the face. I remember watching concerts of Andre Watts. Check him out on YouTube. Every single nuance of the music is like you don't even have to hear the music to know what he's emoting moment by moment. So there's a lot to this subject. So the question is, how much is appropriate and how much becomes distracting? I think the most important thing about any kind of motion during performance or showing emotion on your face or with your hands has got to be genuine. If you really feel it, you know, you're playing a phrase and you're really enjoying it and you're showing that, there's nothing wrong with that. And for those who the music is new, they might pay attention closer based upon the gestures or the facial expressions. They'll give a clue to people as to what to listen for and which parts are, you know, surprising, which parts are sad. It can all be shown. It's part of it. Think of a great conductor. That's the job of a conductor, is to convey the feeling of the music as well as the timing and many more aspects. But it's certainly vital that they show the emotion. Look at Leonard Bernstein conducting, and you really get the sense of the music just watching him conduct. If you've never heard, for example, a Brahms symphony, or even if you have and you watch him conduct it, you'll understand it on a deeper level just from watching his face and his gestures. Well, the same is true of performers on the piano to some extent. I think it can be a very good thing addition to the whole experience of going to a concert. Otherwise, you could stay home and just listen on your devices to the music and have a first-class oral experience, but it's the whole experience that makes the music greater than the sum of the parts. That's my opinion. Interested in yours? You can leave comments at livingpianos.com or on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining me again. I'm Robert Estrin. This is livingpianos.com, your online piano resource. You're welcome to subscribe. If you'd like to get notifications, hit the bell and you'll know about future videos of interest to you. See you next time.
like Robert. He's got a lot of energy.
Oh yeah, very cool. And concert piano is one of those places where you really can, the whole body, the best people who, at conveying the emotion, it's their whole body going into it. If they're playing something really quiet, they might get really down into, try to get down and get very, very light. And if they're playing big, loud things, they're way up here and, that kind of thing. So it can really come across. Whereas with, a violin, for example, they could look a lot similar, like whether they're sawing away to do something very quietly and delicately, or whether they're sawing away to do something very, passionately and loudly, might look very similar to the untrained eye.
Yeah. And he makes a good point that conductors sometimes carry the weight of that expression for the whole orchestra. An orchestra musician might look robotic in some cases, but that conductor, the great ones, you see the emotion in the music from them.
Absolutely. And I've seen some, one was South American, I believe, conductor who was just so, like you said, just so into what he was doing, so into getting the performance that he's getting from all the musicians that he's getting in their faces and they're more, and just really going nuts with everything. And so joyous when he gets to the happy points and all of that, conveying all of that, making sure the audience knows how to feel at those times as well. Not specifically trying to talk to the audience, but getting the musicians to convey that sense.
Yeah, and they're basically the proxy for the emotion of the musicians,
right?
Which sometimes, in a traditional band, sometimes that's where the singer, I think it's real important that a singer, as the front of the band, sometimes has to do that. The rest of the band doesn't necessarily have to be all running around like Eddie Van Halen jumping on the stage, but you need a David Lee Roth doing kicks. And
there should be someone doing something. Yes. Someone on that stage.
They were lucky, Van Halen, all of them were acrobatic in their performance, but even if Eddie and Michael Anthony were just kind of sitting there like robots, David could carry that energy like a conductor in those cases.
They also have a lot of space to work with on a stage like that, where, if you're starting out and you're in a small little gig, you might be, crammed in between the, the hi-hat and the guitar player's amp, and you're just kind of wedged in the corner. So you're not dancing anywhere.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't take much space to move your head. When I'm playing the rest of me is pretty much focusing on what I'm playing, but I close my eyes and my head is my metronome.
Sure. And that's how people can stay on time with you. Even if you're at a rest, a 3-measure rest in the middle, you're still nodding it out. They can still be watching and see where we are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why I grew hair, because it comes in handy when you're shaking your head around. Yeah.
Nice. So Living Pianos.
Yeah, at Living Pianos Videos. He's also got a website, livingpianos.com. Great resource, especially if you're a pianist. For me, these are my kinds of channels. I will be back.
Yes, indeed. We will be checking it out more.
Now, to get to working a stage, and whether you're coming at it as a musician or you're dealing with having to do public speaking, this is going to be advice that really is overall encompassing. And it's science, because it comes from at Science of People, and her study of what it takes to get the crowd's attention, hold the crowd's attention, and do what you need to do on that stage. She really gets into it, nice bullet points, and I couldn't ignore this one.
Yeah, even just seeing little bits and pieces here, cues at the top there, and the art of influence there in the middle. All of these things all tie together. So
yeah, I could have just done the whole discussion just on the different topics she talks about, but she really nails them all together in this one. So this was a great choice for just covering all of these different grounds.
Nice. How to improve your stage presence and win the crowd.
Oh, and she rocks those boots.
There you go.
If you ever had to give a speech or do public speaking or work a room, you know how intimidating a large stage can be. So in this video, I want to tell you how to work a stage like a pro. And as a little secret bonus, we also have a live audience here with you. Because this video is a secret section to our course, People School. It's our new flagship course. It's 12 advanced people skills. And I thought it was only fair I gave you a little sneak peek into how to work a stage like a professional. So we're going to go through our 5 steps together with our live audience and talk about how to do it. So the first step here is that the stage is your signal. What I mean by this is most speakers present their content or prepare their content and just think about the verbal. Maybe they think about a little body language. What they don't realize is that the confidence they use when working a stage is often a signal to the audience of how confident they are with the material. So for example, if someone enters the podium and they're locked to the podium with their notes, the subconscious signal there is that's the only way they can think. But if someone comes on stage without any notes and they work the entire space, the signal there is, wow, they know their content so well, they can actually work the entire space. So even if you know your content so well, if you don't know how to work the stage or work the space around you, it can be a signal to your audience of low competence or low confidence in your actual work. So my big point here is to prep your stage plan with your content plan. So don't just go in with an outline for your content and your ideas. Think about how can you match your content plan with your stage plan. I'm going to give you some ideas for that in this next step. So your next step, step number 2, is that the stage is your muse. So when an audience is listening to you for more than 2 or 3 minutes, and there's not a lot of movement, not a lot of dynamism, not a lot of hand gestures, the brain begins to go to sleep. And I think the onus is on us to be able to create motivating, engaging, different content. So if you lock in on a podium, or if you stand in one part of the stage the entire time, your audience is having to work harder to be able to stay awake for your content. Whereas if you use the stage as a piece of your content, a way to add an energy and creativity and movement, that helps your audience stay awake to then take in more of your content. So keep the audience awake with your movement. And don't be afraid to work it a little. So a lot of the times, right, got to work that stage. A lot of the times speakers get on stage and they're very nervous. So they think, okay, I'm going to plant right here and I'm not going to move. I'm just going to deliver, deliver, deliver. But your speech is not just about right here. It's also about the entire room. So don't be afraid to work all angles, and I'm going to show you how to do that in step number 3. Step number 3 is that the stage is your foundation. It's the area of your content that's going to ground you. If you know how your content flows, that can also help you with your stage flow. So your content should be matching your stage movement. Think about how your content goes. Usually you start with the beginning, right, the beginner level tips, then maybe you move to medium or advanced or examples, and then you end on some kind of really important next step or conclusion. Your stage could match that flow. So for example, if you look at a typical stage breakdown, in this rectangle, you have beginning, middle, and end. What if you matched your content with beginning, middle, and end? Or what if you did all of your openers here, your examples, your meat, your science, your case studies here, and then you called to action at the end? Or maybe you decide that you want to only reserve the middle part of the stage for your most important points. And that way, when you take this part of the stage, the audience knows something good is coming. Right? So you want to map out your stage either in terms of chronology, so beginning, middle, and end, level of importance, so maybe most important side stories, or examples, case studies, or methodology, so breaking your content into different themes. You also could think of this in terms of intimacy with your audience. So the other way a stage is broken up, or the quadrants, are back, middle, front. And this has to do with my relationship with you. So for example, when I'm all the way at the back, I'm the farthest away from you. I'm thinking big picture. I'm thinking strategy. In fact, I typically start a lot of my videos back here, right? I'm giving you the basic overview. Then as we get a little bit more into the content, I go closer. When I share a personal story, I'm usually in the middle. And when I'm talking about you and what I want you to do, I get really close. That's a way for me to show the progress of the intimacy, or where I want us to be thinking. So you can also think about how to outline your stage movement in terms of your relationship with the people who are listening. All right, number 4, practice your stage first impression. First impressions are so hard and they last so long. But most people forget to practice. They think about their opening line, maybe they think about their closing line, but they don't think about that moment right before they deliver. So what happens is, how many times have you seen this? Someone's off stage and they're like, and then they plant. The problem is their first impression already happened. It happened the moment that you came into view. So I want you to not only think about your opening line, but how you are going to take the stage. First question you want to answer, where will you enter? Are you entering on steps? Do you want to build that into your introduction? Are you entering from the stage left, backstage, front of the audience? Get yourself ready for that. Second, where will you plant? So the other thing that happens with speakers is they'll take the stage and then they don't know exactly where to stand. So they kind of have this moment where they're trying to find their place on the stage and they're pivoting the entire time. They're either walking back and forth or they're waffling. I want you to actually find a place to plant and have a plan for it. The reason for this is because it makes your walk more purposeful. The reason why TED Talks can sometimes work so well is they tell you exactly where they want you to plant, right? They give you that little red carpet and that's all you got. What's nice about this is when you're off stage, you know exactly where you're going, and so you walk right towards it and you plant there. I want you to make up your own TED carpet. Wherever you want to plant, that's where you're going, you're making eye contact with it, and then you're planting both feet. That gives a kind of purpose and confidence, that first impression, which you really want. So here, I think, are your 3 options for planting, my favorites. So you have 3 choices when you plant. Typically, you want to be in the front quadrant of the stage, especially if they haven't met you before. This is because you're trying to show a kind of intimacy, right? So you want to meet them for the first time, especially if you're coming from off stage. I like the front in either quadrant. They all mean something a little different. So front and center is I am here, I'm ready to talk to you. From the side, especially if you have slides behind you, you might want to actually give space to those slides. You have a highly technical presentation, you're introducing a movie or a video or a visual, you might actually want to let that take center stage. So you want to plant based on the goal for your entire presentation. Step number 5, work with what you got. So sometimes you're going to get into a stage or get to a presentation and you're not going to like the shape of the stage, it's going to be a weird shape, or maybe they're going to give you a podium and say, you can't leave this podium. Or maybe, lucky you got a TED or TEDx talk and they tell you, you got this red circle, that's all you can do. Or maybe you have odd shapes, so there's things and tables on the stage. What you want to do is make sure that you're prepared for anything to happen. All these laws still apply. For example, on my TEDx talk, I was given that red carpet, right? And I was so nervous because I'm a stage mover, right? I use the stage a lot. And I asked them, can I get off the carpet? And they said, no, if you leave the red carpet, your video will be disqualified from TED.com. And I was like, okay, no pressure. So what I did is I set myself up for less movement by wearing the highest heels I own. I literally got the highest pair of heels I have. They're very uncomfortable and it's really hard to move in them. And so I wore those on stage because every time I had the instinct to move, I didn't. Right? They kind of anchored me and grounded me. I also used my red dot. So in my talk, I have a little side circle, a middle side circle, and an end. And I actually do take little steps in my TED Talk. And that is my way of showing just a little bit of movement. Same laws of movement apply, just in a little bit of a smaller space. So work what you got. It's all gonna work as long as you follow those laws. What you want you to think about here is that movement, content fluidity, so how easy your movement flows with your content, and planning your content with your stage movement, all those laws still hold. And if you go with that, you're gonna be able to rock that stage like a professional. So if you liked this video, I would love for you to join People School. Look at all these amazing People School students. So if you're curious about People School and wanna watch our orientation for free, go to scienceofpeople.com/pschool.
Oh, I'm very curious of People School.
Yes, indeed. I've always been a student of people.
Yeah, I want to check out all her videos now. That is great advice. You know, with musicians, placement is, you know, not always that that flexible. The bassist goes here, guitarist
Yep.
goes there. Singer gets the most flexibility, you know, with the front. And what she talked about, like going into the audience, depending on what you're trying to say and whether you're trying to bring them in,
Mhm.
you know, if you've got the right music and the right song, that's where like the singer leaning in and staring at the pretty girl in the front and then
Mhm.
pulling back, it's all about timing and working the music into that movement.
Yep. And using the different zones to tell a story, for example, you know, if you have the, you know, the regular part of the song and then a guitar solo and then something else, like, you know, you could move to the different parts of the stage, like you said, for that. But there are the limitations. Some of the guys do use wireless rigs. So they actually go out into the crowd sometimes and get crowd participation where they can, you know, they see somebody talking in the back over there. And just to be, you know, funny or whatever, they just go like sneak up behind somebody who's having a conversation and they turn around and the guitar player's just like standing right behind them playing. So they do stuff like that just to, you know, just to mess around with the people and get them engaged, because that gets everybody, you know, everybody gets, you know, gets in on it then.
And are truly like engaging singer. Like sometimes they'll go and sing in like, you know, the bassist mic along with the bassist or the
Yep.
guitarist mic, and they'll kind of shuffle to the other members and give that feeling of camaraderie.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the back-to-back thing, right? The two guitar players or the guitar player and the bass player, like, you know, leaning in, old metal style. We see that
Or
sometimes too.
one guitar is going this way while the bassist goes the other way, synchronized.
Getting all that worked out. Yep. It's all about the show. But yes, this is good information that, you know, is not just for music, but also for speaking. And her information is not just good for speaking, but good for music as well.
It's a good psychological study of like how people work and how you can work people when you are on that stage. Like she said, the stage is your muse, you know, it's your tool.
And understanding the verbal and nonverbal cues that, you know, these things are hinging on is also important, because that's all, you know, important psychological information that's, you know, not everybody picks up on, I guess, and not everybody really studies directly. But if you've done a lot of people watching ever, you know, you see how interactions go. Like you could have a TV show on mute and you can tell what's going on. You know, are they having a peaceful interaction? Are they having an angry interaction? Like you can pick up on these things just from watching, not necessarily listening.
Well, and
But
a lot of times as musicians, we work off of the reaction of the crowd. So,
right.
you know, that sometimes helps to get a musician more comfortable when they
Mhm.
see a reaction. Same goes with comedians. You know,
Yep, absolutely.
a comedian really kind of has to work off the crowd and the reaction in order to like really do what they do.
And many of them found out the hard way when COVID lockdowns started way back when, that, you know, where they were used to having a live audience all the time and they're trying to do, you know, comedy shows with no live audience. And all of a sudden they don't have anyone reacting to their jokes. And it's, you know, off-putting when they're trying to do it. Like it doesn't get them in that same level where, you know, they're putting in, how long of a pause do I put in? Because I'm not waiting for the applause to die down in a natural way. You know, there's no applause there to go. So you just, ha ha, you know, and then you're waiting crickets and then you go.
You got to be really good to have that stage presence when you don't have that audience to like feed it back to you. If you're shooting a music video, you don't necessarily have a crowd, but you need to look like you have a crowd in your video.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's where some of it comes down to, you know, playing a character or acting out a scene. If you want to look at it in those ways, it's more that type of a thing where, you know, you're shooting a music video. That's exactly what you're doing, is you're shooting a scene. So it's more, you know, understand what you want it to look like. You got to be able to take the director's hat and put it on for a second and say, what is he trying to see for the shot? And, you know, what's being conveyed by where everybody is, you know, all these other aspects that we just talked about with the stage and with the energy that the people are giving, everything all combined. But it's tough to do without the reaction of a crowd. So that's why sometimes they will do it in front of a live crowd, you know, even a small live crowd, just to have some level of interaction for the musicians or
Yeah,
the people.
and it's good to bone up on your acting skills.
Oh,
Even
yeah,
if you're a musician, you should get familiar with like acting techniques because they will help in your performance.
absolutely. And you're already, you know, you're already over the biggest hurdle for acting, which would be the stage fright part, which if you're already a musician who gets on stage, you probably don't have much stage fright. So the whole acting thing wouldn't be nearly as intimidating. So you've already got that going for you going in.
Yep, yep. So at Science of People,
Very cool.
love this freshie.
Yep. Good Good scientific approach.
Yep. So now that we know what stage presence is, we're going to look into how we can improve things we can do to improve that stage presence. And this one comes from, a musician who works different types of stages. He's a DJ, he's a musician, he covers a lot of different types of audiences. So the advice kind of comes from different directions here.
Nice.
And he's a pro
See it from
muso.
different angles. Yeah.
At pro muso 2121 over on YouTube. He gives advice, gear reviews, and tutorials for working musicians. 25 years in pubs and corporate environments, so he's got the experience.
Nice. Now, I've full disclosure, I've been going to pubs for more than 25 years.
Same here. and he does have a website, thedinnersinger.com.au. So if you like what you see, go and give it a visit.
Indeed. Improve your stage presence. On stage
tips.
Yeah.
Internets, Todd Woodward here, back with more advice on how you can quit your day job and become a full-time musician. Stick around. Stage presence is something that you can not only improve on by way of experience, but also with some general guidelines to follow. Fast track your stage presence by following some simple rules that I'm going to lay out in this video. Here are 8 tips that will help you improve on your stage presence. Number 1, posture. During my band days, a confident stance without trying to look like a guitar hero was foremost in my mind when considering stage presence. These days, my act is seated, but a good posture is equally important. A slumped posture gives off a feeling of being shy or introverted, not confident. The simple act of sticking your chest out, a little lifting your chin can help you physically feel more confident and in control. If any of you have ever done theatre, you will understand that a dress rehearsal, that is a rehearsal with a full costume, makeup and props, helps immensely in feeling more in character. The same goes for your body physically. If you mimic the part more, you'll feel the part more. So try to get into a habit of confidence by owning that space you are in and shining in it, rather than diminishing in it. This does not mean standing there like Freddie Mercury while you're playing an early set at the Pig and Whistle. The occasion must fit the amount of confidence, but you get what I mean. Number 2, don't try to be something you're not. You need to find your own personality on stage. If you're a soloist, there is no one to bounce off, so you need to find out what makes you unique and lean into it. Don't be afraid to say things over the mic in a conversational way. For example, talking about a song that you've just performed or are about to. You could Google information about an artist or a song to find out interesting facts and then mention that over the mic. It's relevant to what you're doing, and the more you do this, the more comfortable you'll become in doing it. Silence can be the worst feeling in between songs, especially if there's no reaction from the audience. So having a few things in your back pocket to say can break that silence. It doesn't have to be funny, it just needs to be interesting. Number 3, include the audience. This is important. You want to show the audience that you appreciate them. There's nothing more ostracizing than appearing like you don't care if you're not engaging with the members of the audience. This can come off as arrogant. They don't realize that you may be just nervous and can't think of anything to say. You need to develop a way of connecting with people during your performance. You could ask over the mic for people to call out requests. I often say something like, please feel free to shout out any requests. If I know them, I'll do them. This at least shows you care if your audience is enjoying the music and gives them more of a chance to enjoy it by playing a song they already like. This can also make you look like a musical genius or a schmuck. If you know a song they call out, it appears you can play anything. If you don't know it and you get a few requests of different songs that are not in your rep, it can make you look like the opposite. So it's a bit of a gamble. People assume that if you're a pro, you can play anything. They simply don't understand what it takes to build a repertoire. So to increase your chances, you could mention the name of an artist of which you have learned songs. Any Van Morrison fans out there? You could also mention a decade or a genre. How about a little something from the 80s? Or I'm feeling a bit of reggae, what do you reckon? This opens you up to a huge range of options. This simple thing gives you a line or two of banter and makes the audience feel like they're involved. Saying nothing, song after song, is going to get you offside with an audience pretty quickly. Sometimes it's not appropriate to say too much. If you can sense that people are happy with the music but their focus is on conversation with their friends, it may suit the vibe not to say much, But try to at least smile and look like you're enjoying the music that you're playing. Every gig is different and you have to be aware of the feeling in the room and adapt to it. Of course, I'm thinking of the perspective of a soloist. I'm a soloist, so a band situation may be different, as most bands are hired to promote a more high energy experience. Number 4, don't read into it too much. This depends on your personality. As a general rule, most creative people are a little sensitive to what other people think of them. Yeah, it's true. This is a very natural feeling. We want people to like us. But not everyone will. For the longest time, I'd always seem to notice people in the audience that I feel were not enjoying it. I would imagine they were a great guitarist and they were judging my playing. This would always make me feel nervous and affect my performances because mental energy was being taken away from my priority, which was the performance itself. Then if I spoke to him in the break, I realized they were nothing like I had thought and I just made it all up in my head. This really is too sensitive and you can't let yourself fall into that trap. You have to stop worrying about what other people think. Realize that you are performing and they aren't. You are there because you are good enough to be there. So get on with what you're doing and just do it. This can be a hard thing to overcome and it may just take experience, but the more you're conscious of being confident in your head, the more you will overcome this. The truth is that while you're up there concentrating on every other note you play, others are not viewing you under that kind of microscope. So what if you hit a bum note? Hit it again, call it jazz. Remember, it's not all about you. One way that a newbie will stand out like a sore thumb is if they react to their mistakes. Don't laugh at yourself by bringing any emotion to the mistake. Act like it never happened. Don't react at all and pretend you meant it. Bringing attention to mistakes only emphasizes them. By not reacting, people will only have to assume that you meant to do it. Shit happens. You're going to screw up from time to time. Accept it. Make a mental note of the screw up and when you get home, fix it so it doesn't happen again. Number 5, record yourself. It's a good idea to occasionally record yourself performing. This can give you an audience point of view of how you appear on stage. Ask a friend to capture some video on their phone and just take a look at where you can improve. Compare yourself to other artists and refine your act. Number 6, don't be negative. If a crowd is not responding, the worst thing you can do is blame them. Is this thing working? Not a good idea, It will immediately make you look arrogant. Try to encourage people to get up and dance, but don't demand it. Don't make fun of anyone in a derogatory way for a quick laugh. You will come off as a jerk. You will inevitably be met with poor audiences. This is something that you need to get used to because if you're playing pubs, it's a common thing. Remember that it's not your fault. The venue hasn't advertised enough, the pub just isn't that popular, the weather has kept people away. All musicians will go through this. You need to find a way to create a vibe in a positive way. Sometimes it's impossible because there's simply not enough people. This happens more often than you might think. So get used to it. I'm not a rock star. And remain professional. Treat it as a paid rehearsal because if you're a polished act, you will know that if you are put in front of a decent crowd, you will win them over. It may take a set or two, but they will come around. Just be positive, professional, and give them a bit of energy. If you're enjoying yourself, it'll rub off on the audience, and it's all about context. I know that if I'm put in front of a crowd that wants a good time, I will connect with them with the music that I play. Just remember though, if you're not put in front of an audience, sometimes you have to realize that you just can't polish a turd. That's life for the vast majority of musicians. So just try to connect with the music itself and enjoy it for what it is. Because while there may be only a handful of people watching, the staff and management are watching and listening. And you want them to remember you as a pro, even when it's quiet. Number 7, watch and learn. You can learn a lot from other performers, good or bad. Go along to a few shows of artists similar to you and just watch from an audience point of view. Even if the performer you're watching is no good, at least you can learn what not to do. If the performer is connecting with the audience, watch how they do it. It may be through the clever banter they use or a persona they have developed. Take note of the things they say and how they say them. Take note of what songs are working and how they play them. You can borrow techniques from several different acts and use them in your own. This will mold you into the act you end up being. Try to find your true personality on stage by not copying someone else, but by using the same method, if you like. Number 8, enjoy yourself on stage. What do you expect when you go to a concert? You expect that you're going to have a good time, enjoy some great music with your friends, and be entertained. That's what makes a good night out. Remember that everyone in your audience is there because they want to have a good time. It's the weekend, it's time to socialise, it's time to have a few drinks with your friends and unwind after a long week of working. You are in the entertainment game. If you feel too uptight on stage, and people are going to feel that energy. If you're having a good time, it will permeate through the audience and catch fire. Trust me, there is only one way to be able to inject a fun atmosphere, and that is to be so well rehearsed and confident in your ability that you don't need to think about the chords or solos or vocals, because you can nail them every time. Your gear is working well and your mix is great. This frees up your mind so much that all you need to think about is the audience and how you're connecting with them. This makes a huge difference. This gives you valuable time. If you know what you're doing and supremely confident that you can deliver, you will enjoy the Scheißenhausen out of that gig, and it'll be entertaining. Do your homework, be prepared musically, practice until you can do it blindfolded, and I guarantee that you will enjoy the fruits of your labor. When a gig goes off, it's a great feeling, not only because you are successful again and again, but there's something very satisfying in having put all that effort into your act and see people having a great time because of it. Plus, you are getting paid to do what you love. Please give this video a like if you got something out of it. Consider subscribing and watching more tips, tricks, and advice on how you can become a full-time working musician. If you have anything you'd like to add from your experience that may help someone, please comment. I hope you got something out of this and it helped you improve as a performer. I upload at least twice a week, so hit that bell notification. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Oh, I enjoyed the Scheisenhauer out of those tips.
I knew that was coming. Always a good one.
Well, I really liked when he said, don't try to copy, but instead, use the same technique, the same method.
Right. Yep.
That's a smart way to look at that.
Learn what it is that worked from that, and try to use that yourself, not necessarily to copy, but yes, to incorporate and to understand why it works.
Yeah, duplicate the recipe.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And his advice on requests. You play in several different bands, and you guys have like a lot of different songs. Do you ever take requests?
Yeah, a lot of time actually. Like when we were when we do just open jams, even we've been doing open jams a couple times a week for the last couple months. And in the one we do on Wednesdays, the guy will just the guy who's running it basically will ask us, hey, you got one more? Hey, you got two more? And then like a lot of times he'll ask for a specific song, even like, how about this one or how about that one? And they're songs that he doesn't necessarily know that we know, but they're ones that we've done before. And the thing is, with some of these bands I've done, we've done hundreds of songs over the years. A lot of times we'll do songs I don't even know what song we're doing until we're halfway into it, and then
you just get into the groove.
Yep, exactly. I hear what the chords are coming around, and even like we can just throw on a song. Like if we're gonna try to learn a song, we'll put it on, and as soon as it comes around, like I hear the chord structure come around once, and by the second time I'm probably finding it on the bass, and by the third time I got it, and then people can just be, like, oh, like, that's an F and that's a C and that's an A minor and whatever. Like, we can figure out where we are from there, because it comes by using the ear and then jumping very quickly to the instrument and matching to it. I can find out where we are really quickly and make it happen. So even just again with backing people on open mic nights, because I'll go play with people that I've never played with before and just do requests from them where it's not even necessarily a song, but they'll say, okay, we're gonna start with B flat and C and G or whatever, and we'll just start with that and see what that does. And a lot of times they have something in mind, and if they do, it's great. Like I can you can wind me up, so to speak, like just on the bass. Like if you can just give me a feel of boom boom boom, you want something like that, fine, I can give you that all day. Or if you leave it up to me, I'll just kind of try a few different things and fall into something that I like and just work from there. But the important thing is to be able to just play anything. And like they were saying, it's not everybody who can play just anything, and there are a lot of things that you can't just jump into because there's so many changes, or you need to know where the stops are and everything else. Knowing the song is the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
So just even listening to it and knowing how it goes.
It's funny because I've done hundreds of requests when it comes to like, remastering and putting it up on BandLab.
Mhm.
But when it comes to live, I've always been like hesitant to ever do requests because like he mentioned, if you get a couple of requests in a row that you don't know,
Mhm.
it starts to. But I loved his suggestions on ways to steer the
Yeah,
requests and
there's
like, hey, how about something from the '80s? Kind
exactly.
of narrows the gap.
Exactly. And I mean, one of the bands I work with is an 80s band. Another one that I work with, they have a method where, they have their set list, and these are the songs that they're going to do, first set, second set, but they also have a section at the bottom that's extras. And there's at least 6 or 8 songs on the extras at the bottom. And that way, if somebody does come up and ask for, hey, can they play blah, 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 and just they name a random song, I can kind of look at the set list and see, it's not one of the ones they're playing, but hey, they're playing, a song by that band in the first set and 2 songs by that band in the second set, but also down in the extras over here, they have, one of the, like, Jenny is down in the extras. And like, maybe they'll play that, like, that would be a request. And they might be like, oh yeah, that'll be my request. So, you can kind of guide them to certain songs in that way. But I did
And
like
that's
the genre suggestion as well as the time frame, like the 80s, 90s, whatever.
and that's why it's sometimes good, even if you're covering one song from a
Mhm.
band. It
Mhm.
doesn't hurt to get familiar with their other hit songs,
Yeah.
because once you've got the audience for that one song, you could have that situation where they want to hear like every hit song that came from that band.
Yep. And they might just like the way that your band covers it, because you might have, a particular way that your band covers that particular, band's songs, and they want to hear more of it. So sure.
Yeah, I thought that was it made me think like, if I took that approach, I might be okay with taking requests in that kind of live situation.
Yeah, and I do also work with a lot of bands that just don't take requests at all. They have their set list, and it's what they're going to do, unless it's something like, if it's an event that's being run by whoever, and whoever comes over and says, "Hey, I want to hear the song whatever in the second set," or when we're doing a toast in the middle or whatever. Like, they might have a specific request for something, and in that case, like, "Happy Birthday" is always good to know.
Yeah.
Things like that. If you're going to play a New Year's thing, you should know "Old Lang Syne," whatever. There's a few staples that you should know if it's going to be a specific kind of a thing. If it's a Halloween time, you should know some spooky kinds of songs, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
And that's the difference between, say, like a band that's going out to perform a set list versus like a wedding band,
Right.
where you will get requests left and right if you're that type of band. So
Mhm. With a wedding band, I would expect more that it would be at the time of the interview, or at the time that the bride and groom are choosing the band, they would approve or disapprove of certain list. Wouldn't it be so much of calling it out on the fly? But I could be wrong. I'm just thinking that a lot of times they try to choreograph the weddings down to the every minute is very scheduled in a lot of
well,
the way they do these things.
they may end up looking specifically for like an '80s band.
Sure. Yep.
It depends on the couple and what kind of music they want to have for their party.
Absolutely. Yep. I've done weddings with an 80s band, and it was a wedding for the brother of the bass player in the band. And so
Yeah.
it was at their parents' house. Nice big thing. It was fun.
Yeah, that's some
80s
great
music all day.
advice that came from at ProMuso
Mhm.
2121, and he started with the like logical advice, like good posture, presentation there makes
Mhm.
makes a big difference when you're coming onto the stage, just like we heard, your entrance, your introduction to
Mhm.
the crowd
First
makes
impression. Mhm.
don't go in like a hunchback.
Exactly. It's important. How you carry yourself is important. Now, you've seen videos of me on stage. I happen to be a very tall guy. So like, if you see me on stage anywhere, it's like everybody else looks really, really short next to me. And I do play at some places where there are some very, very short people who walk around on stage, and it's unmistakable. It looks kind of comical from a third party perspective, being off the stage. It's like, wow, that guy is huge and he's way in the back.
Well, and you have some short singers.
In general, sure. And even
Yeah.
again, at the open jams, it all depends on how the bands get thrown together, that we play with multiple groups of people. They stream live on Facebook sometimes at some of them. Sometimes I just do the recordings myself. That was the other one that was big in some of there, was recording yourself is a big good tip to be able to critique yourself, be able to watch yourself later. And you hit a wrong note here, you hit a wrong note there, you watch it now, and you can say, oh, I can accept the fact that I made those mistakes. I see what it looked like from the crowd, and it's not the best thing in the world, but one of the big things is, how confidently and how strongly you start a song and finish a song are the more important parts. Because if you go right into it and it's nice and sharp going in, and you have a couple of flubs in the middle or whatever, but you come out of it nice and strong and sharp, a lot of times that'll be what sticks with people, is the way you came out of it.
That was another part of his good advice. Like, don't think that the audience is as focused on what you're doing as you are.
Sure.
That's so true. And if you do happen to hit like a wrong note, well, hey, it's jazz.
hit it twice and call it jazz. I like that.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
Yeah, and that's another one from Victor Wooten as well. He was talking about, any bad note you hit, that means there's a good note on both sides. So like right next to you on either side of that bad note's a good note. So hit that bad note, hit it again, and then slide up a fret, or hit that bad note, hit it again, slide down a fret, and you ended up on a good note. But you made it into a little thing now, and you can just add that into your stuff.
Just slide out of the mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And now it sounds like it works.
And now we're going to go into a little bit of the stage fright side of presence, and something that some of us do deal with. In the next couple of videos, there's going to be some debate on whether it's real or not. And for this one is more vocalist centric. It comes from at the confident singer 7477. She's a confidence coach, so for her focus is on improving your confidence. And what she's going to talk about here is how stage fright and confidence intermingle there.
They are definitely related.
Coach who teaches stage presence and performance techniques, and she does a lot of reaction videos to different performers and where confidence shows or doesn't show. So it's good to be aware of these things. And if you do a performance and you're lucky enough to get some video footage of it, just like a football player might look at their video afterwards to see where they can improve and do better. These are the kinds of things you want to look for in your performance.
Absolutely. It's important to be able to look at yourself from the audience perspective and to be able to accept, what you are on stage and what you're presenting and how to improve it and how to give them the show that you're trying to give them.
Yeah. And do it with more confidence. And
more
mean
confidence.
What you're singing. Mean what you're singing. That's what she's going to talk about.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, to me, that's also from speeches. Like you'll see people, like you can tell if somebody's just phoning it in and just reading from a teleprompter, like their mouth is just making those words that are on the screen come out, but they're not really saying what the words are. You have to mean what you're saying. Like, read the words, understand what you're saying, and then present that, as you would be presenting it if you were not just reading it off the page, but present it as it's, as if it were a thought that were your original thought that you were thinking of right then.
Yeah, you don't want to be disingenuous.
Right. Exactly. Because that comes right through.
Yeah. Oh, the audience sees it. The audience feels it. So avoid that.
Exactly. Authenticity is important.
So 2 steps to overcome stage fright and have better stage presence.
Nice.
Just 2. That's
Have you ever felt the rush of an excitement when you finally get that opportunity to perform? You have loved singing for years and finally the opportunity has come. In other words, you're over the moon. You practice and practice, then consider every little detail of your outfit, and you just love how your voice sounds during the practice. You have finally found the courage to say yes to the opportunity, and you just can't wait. When the day arrives and you're about to step in front of people, suddenly you're hit by something you did not expect. Your mouth is dry like a desert, although you have been drinking water like an addict. Your hands are stone cold, and you start to worry, do you even have blood inside of you? Knees are shaking. You realize that wearing these shoes were a bad idea. Feels like your body is just so awkward and almost as it's not as a whole. Because of those damn shoes, you don't feel grounded. More like a floating awkward body in the air. Of course, by now you know that saying yes to this opportunity was the worst decision you have made in your life. You'll never be as good as Daisy. Daisy has much more experience, better training, she's prettier than you are, and Daisy has a better stage presence. How can you even think you can compare to her? If this sounds all so familiar to you, no need to panic, my friend. There are 2 ways to fix it. First, dear singer, mean what you're singing. It's that simple. If you're performing a sad love song, write down a sentence that triggers you to feel sad about your love life. And with that emotional memory, step on the stage and deliver the song. Find in the lyrics something that you can relate to. It doesn't have to be from your own experience, although it does help. You can always just make up a story in your head. Our brain can tell a difference between reality and imagination, and it will believe whatever you tell it. Second, see the person you're singing to. This can go 2 ways. An imaginary person sitting in the audience, or an actual person sitting in the audience. In either way, see it. By this, you'll avoid the awkward, fake, emotional, eye-closing party, and you'll have more stage presence. See the person. See the reactions on the person's face. See the person and sing to it. And ask yourself, what do I want my person to feel while I'm singing the song? And then, just make sure the person feels it. Oh, hi there! Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it encouraged you. More videos like that about stage presence, charisma, stage fright are coming to support you and just make you feel like you're not alone in this. If you're an aspiring singer, this is the place to be for that weekly, whoops, that was my email, for that weekly encouragement dose for your success. Subscribe and share the word. Bye!
Yeah. Confidence.
Nope. I sent that email.
It was you. It was you. That was the notification of you subscribing to the channel. That's probably what that was.
Well, and to her point about confidence, if you do mean what you're saying, you know, if you are singing that sad song or that happy song and you feel it and you show it, that helps to be confident.
And feeling it helps to show it. I mean, that's the idea, is that, you know, you're having that thought or that framework in mind means that, you know, you're then authentically, you know, displaying that emotion, going into it, saying the line, but meaning the line. Yes, that's very important.
And going back to the earlier videos, how you on the stage, if you're going into the audience and singing that sad song and coming in, the effect that it can have, or like a duet where you've got, you know, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton looking each other in the eyes as they're singing to each other. The effect that has is magical.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're evoking the performance from each other in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, for singers out there, you know, this is truth.
Yep, absolutely. And even just you know, singing background vocals, for example, as a, you know, if you're backing somebody up, you can actually inspire them to sing more powerfully there as well. Because if all of a sudden your backgrounds are coming in strong and they were just kind of, you know, singing, you know, at a medium volume, they weren't quite comfortable in what they were doing, it might accelerate and boost them to have that confidence, you know, with what they're doing as well.
You lift me up with that big booming voice.
Yeah, gotta make sure we check that. Make sure we EQ it down, you know, not too much low end.
So
blowing out the subwoofers.
Anybody who's looking to improve their confidence and struggling with it and want to boost it up, you know, at the Confident Singer 7477, she really does cover a lot of that. That's her forte.
Indeed. I like it.
Now, you know, the other singing challenge is when you're not necessarily playing the song, but what you're doing in between the songs, and how you give that guitarist enough time to retune and still keep the crowd, engaged. And this is usually the biggest challenge for the singer. It's
Yeah.
typically the singer who has this role.
Mhm. True. Although I have had lots of situations where, like, let's say the singer has a cold and, needs to go off and, whether sometimes they need to get a sip of tea for their throat or they need to, go blow their nose or whatever, like they're going to need a minute here and there also. So they're going to call on their background, whoever else has a live mic on stage, which would be anybody who sings backgrounds would be next.
Or the singer has to go to the bathroom and now it's time for a drum solo.
Well, ideally, that's all taken care of before they get on their set. And that's another thing about preparedness. Make sure that you're ready to go up there. If you're going to play for half an hour or an hour, make sure you're ready to get up there and be up there for an hour with all your supplies are with you. Like
And
the
if you're going to
Alpine
bide your
Buffalo beers,
time,
line 'em up.
if you're going to bide your time with a drum solo, make sure you have like a John Bonham type
Mhm.
drummer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or there's also another good option is to have somebody like a guitar player, a lead guitar player, can like go off into Zeppelin land or like do a medley of whatever, like do part of this song, part of that song, and part of this song, and just do little little pieces here and there and tie it all into a thing that they can then everybody else can jump back on board at the end. You
Well,
can
and
always do that kind of thing as well.
guitar solos are almost like obligatory as
Mhm.
far as like the old days. Guitars needs to have at least a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, have dead air on stage is never a good thing. So knowing what to say in between is important. The whole, always, not forgetting to, don't forget about your bartenders. That's always a good one if you're in a bar. Sometimes you're just outside in a park. It could be a story about what a nice day it is. It can be asking people about, the town that you're in or whatever. There can be all kinds of ways that you can, make something happen. But ideally, it's not too much of a, asking for something from the crowd, because a lot of times you could get no response, and that always falls flat. So.
Yeah, and this is a form of improv. You don't just improv with your instrument in this case. You improv with the crowd.
Yep. Yeah, it could be a story. Like I was telling Tony on the way to the gig today that blah blah blah. It doesn't even have to be true.
Yeah, it just has to be relevant.
Sure. Or interesting. Interesting was the main important thing.
Yeah. So this one's coming from @Smart Music Business Videos. So we talk about music and music is our business. So the channel name attracted me right off the bat.
I like it.
He's got a Spotify challenge going. Have to look more into that too.
Mm-hmm. This is more on the stage banter side.
Yes, we're gonna learn to speak in between songs during our show performances. Something that I'm sure you've had to deal with the open mics.
Oh yeah, and having a little something to talk about is always helpful. Even just thanking everybody in the audience. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Yeah, especially the time while you still have people setting up, and you're up there,
Mhm.
but there's still some setting up going on. You kind of have to start to warm up the crowd. So
one thing that's good with a lot of these is while they have the turnover time, they turn the house music back on. So they just have, basically jukebox or whatever going in the background. And then as the crowd, as the band is tuned up and ready to go, then they bring that down and, either start your timer or however many songs you're going to do as a set. But in most situations, it would be, you're up there if you're going to have, an hour and a half set. Like a lot of times I'm the guy, if I'm working with another band, I'm the guy who would go over to the bar and be like, hey, can you kill the house music? Band's ready to go. Make sure they're ready to kill it from their end.
the conductor.
Yep. Making sure it all gets done. But yes, let's see about speaking in between songs.
Yes, teach me.
To speak in between songs. This is one of my pet peeves, one of my most frustrating things with other artists, and why they don't take the time to learn it, because it takes your show from here to here. It helps you to, engage with the crowd more. It helps so much with that, because in between songs, if it's just silent, it's just quiet, it's just like, okay, sure, maybe you have a beat, maybe you guys are tuning or whatnot, but here's your opportunity to share something. Hey, how you guys doing tonight? That song was inspired by this. If you know what town you're in, say something cool about the town. Maybe say, hey, we ate at this certain restaurant, or big up to that team, of that ball team or football team, or just something that is relatable to that town. That's your opportunity, man. those times in between songs, those are your opportunities to speak to the crowd and to connect and make it more personal and bring them in. I've watched where I've shared certain things and just watched them like, oh, okay, he's one of us. She's one of us. They know what's going on in our town. That opens the door to so much when you do that, to learn to speak, okay? So just think about stuff. Maybe you have your certain things. There's certain things that I say in between songs all the time. I have this song called No Plan B. I'm like, hey, that song No Plan B, we shot a music video for it in Tokyo, Japan. So konnichiwa, arigatou gozaimasu, let's rock it, put your hands up. And I get them to start clapping. You know, it's kind of like my thing that I say in between songs. Or sometimes I'll say, hey, we just got off the road, man. We just flew through the night, and man, my buddy over here, he almost like threw up last night because he was eating this dirty burrito or something like that. But anyways, you ready to rock? Okay. And you know what? Just say something funny. You can say a joke, anything to kind of just cut the uncomfortableness. And there shouldn't be any uncomfortableness in the first place, but I get it. Sometimes you feel like you can't talk. Well, practice. You got to practice, man. I didn't get good at speaking in between songs overnight, and I was on the road with this artist, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just not good at speaking in between songs. And I was like, come on, man, you're so good at personal with me. How can you not be good on stage? It's the same thing. And then I watched him, and he was absolutely terrible, and he put no effort. He just didn't care. He just didn't think it was important. And you know what? The connection with the crowd was not the same. I've seen bands that are so good at connecting in between songs, telling jokes, and just having fun with the audience, bringing them forward. I've seen some dudes go on stage wearing a jersey or something like that of the team, or they take off their sweater and they're wearing the jersey of that team, of that city they're in, and it's just like, oh, and people love it, you know, or naming one of their cool local restaurants and say that you ate there, and just sharing your story. Sharing your story about what inspired you, why you're doing music, how you got into it, you know, what got you started, you know, a struggle. People love a little short little struggle, and you don't want to go on and on and on. You got to keep it quick, but if it's real, then people are going to love it. I've heard so many people say to me, Chris, I loved it when you shared, or I loved your show. And I'll say, well, what part did you like about the show? And they're like, oh, I loved it when you shared your story. And I was like, really? Well, that's cool, man. And it was just like, wow, you know, you don't know this. And so when people come up to you after the show and they do say, hey, I loved your show, ask them, what did you like about it? What was your favorite part? And try and get more than just all of it. I loved all of it. Say, no, what was one of the parts you really liked that you liked about the show? And find out. And I just guarantee you, this being able to speak in between songs will not only engage more with the audience and just build a fan base, but with building a fan base, they'll buy more merch at the end of the night. Guaranteed. You'll sell more merch, you'll sell more CDs, and you'll turn not just like, you know, spectators or what do you call it? You just turn someone from a fan to a raving fan, to like a real lifetime supporter. Okay, so take the time to practice and write out. And this is the other thing I want to say too. It's okay to say something very similar every single night. Every single night. There's nothing wrong with that. You sing the same songs almost every single night. Why can't you have a really good practice script, like you know your jokes and stuff like that, so you can deliver them awesome, and they just boom. You know, what do you think a comedian does? What do you think public speakers do? They practice their one-liners. So you want to have your jokes and your different things ready so that people are like, oh, that's awesome. You know what I mean? One thing I say in between songs, I'll just share one of mine. I'll say, hey, the party level's here. Can we take it there? Can we take it there? Or sometimes I'll just say, hey, I need your help singing with this next song. Can you guys sing with me? You know, and bring some crowd participation into it. It's a really powerful way and a tool to win over your audience and just to be able to speak in between songs. Hope that helps you guys out. You're freaking awesome. Thanks so much for taking this course. And I encourage you, take action, apply it, and let me know if it works by leaving a comment or a question in the discussion.
Hey, what's up guys? Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you found it valuable. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you can get notified of the weekly new updates we always put out. Also, if you're a struggling artist and you're just trying to figure out what to do next in this crazy music industry, maybe you feel overwhelmed and you just don't know what to do next, I want to encourage you to check out fanbaseuniversity.com. It's a membership area where we're helping hundreds of other artists grow their platform, grow their fan base, sell more music, the real nuts and bolts and the how-to to grow your music industry career. Head over to fanbaseuniversity.com and join our membership and get the help and the support you need to grow your music career.
One of us. One of
One
us.
of us.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check out that Fanbase University. That does sound interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool.
And
yes,
and
good advice.
and he you know, we were talking about like comedy, and if you can incorporate comedy into your performance, especially if you're the singer trying to fill gaps between the songs,
Mhm.
getting good at it and being able to keep them engaged that way can be very effective.
Oh yeah, and again, one of the other suggestions in there from before was about the artists, like facts about the songs. Like, what your set list is. Like, if you go in with a set list, do a little research and know something about every song. It doesn't have to be the next song from 1984 by so and so is this. Like, you don't have to do that all the time, but you could throw it out there as an interesting aside if you're just gonna fill a little space.
Or this song is about this.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of leading into the song. But I liked his suggestion on kind of bringing in things that happen with the band. If
Yep.
you are touring and like something funny happened, or something
Mhm.
happened at the last show, and you've got this new audience, you're kind of giving them a little bit of your play-by-play
Mhm.
history.
And another way to do the whole restaurant thing, like he was mentioning, a local restaurant, you could say, oh yeah, I ate over at the whatever. You could also be like I'm trying to decide where to go later. Am I gonna
Unless you
go
got
over?
food poisoning.
Well, yeah. In this case, like you haven't gotten eaten there yet, but you could say, oh, I'm thinking about either going over to Carmine's or going over to Dos Caminos. What do you guys think? And see if people in the crowd call out one or the other. Not that it's a competition,
yeah.
but
Well,
being able to call it
that's good suggestion there, because then you are bringing the crowd in, because they might know like the killer restaurant to go to. So like doing that
Mhm.
does engage and pull the crowd into the show.
And make sure you know what city you're in. Very important. That always
Or
helps.
at least what state.
Exactly. But yes,
'Cause
little. Mhm.
that does happen. Like, you do have touring musicians who sometimes lose track of like, where am I tonight?
Yep. And it can even be, somebody in the crowd. Like, let's say you're a band who has a couple people who come to all of your shows or whatever, a couple people in the crowd. And could be somebody's wife, could be somebody's, just friend who hangs out with the band, whatever. But, just calling them out once in a while. Like, hey, our friend Jim back there who's, comes out to most of our shows. Yeah, get a little crowd involvement from there as well. Get
Oh,
a little
and that's
payback for the fans who come out all the time.
yeah, that's how you support your biggest fans.
Exactly. Because they'll love that. And that can make their night,
Support goes in both directions. Support your fans support you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
At Smart Music Business Videos.
All right. I like it.
I will be checking out that university he mentioned.
Sure.
So now going back to stage fright, and as I mentioned, I like this video because it comes at it from a parent's perspective, which, if you are a parent out there with a kid who seems to be musically inclined or has like a skill, but is hesitant to show that skill beyond the household, how he approaches it and deals with it, I just found really interesting. I think this is a common situation where you see talent in a child, and the child has no problem doing it in the home environment, but doesn't feel confident enough to show it off to the world.
Sure. And there is a level of comfort and a level of expertise. And also it depends on age. Like younger kids, a lot of times are much less hesitant. Like they'll get out there and just hammer away on the keys and just have fun with it and not have as much of a problem with it. If kids don't start trying something like that until older, they might be more hesitant already because they haven't developed those, performing skills, let's say. Being in front of a crowd or getting comfortable with getting in front of a crowd and, doing a little thing that you're doing.
Yeah, and depending on their age, when they're really young, they tend to be free of
Inhibitions. Yeah.
lack of confidence. As they become more self-aware, more self-conscious, that's where things like stage fright and fear of performing start to come into play. So how you deal with that, how you help them to overcome that at those ages, can make the difference between a kid who goes into that skill and that art. You want to help them to overcome it, especially if you see the talent.
Yeah. Well, also it just because of the fact that these skills translate into other areas of life. It's not all just about, whether it's performing an instrument or drama or public speaking. I mean, they all relate, and it can also impact, how you interact with groups. If you come into a room and there's 10 people in the room, are you going to, sit in the corner by yourself and not, make eye contact or talk with anybody? Are you going to come in and be the center of attention immediately? Or, different people have different preferences on how they interact in groups. And I think a lot of that comes down to the confidence and the ability to interact, the ability to make small talk, or just be able to come in and say something just to break the ice.
Yeah, you can help them to develop those social skills, especially nowadays where today's kids have a bigger challenge than we did when it comes to developing social skills, because a lot of them are getting shoved in front of a screen and left to figure it out on their own through social media. So this one comes from @Valuetainment, enlighten, entertain, and empower. And this is a channel that just overall covers a lot of different things. And, the entertainment world and Valuetainment is a good name to cover the things that he covers here.
In this today, we're looking at the cure for stage fright.
Monster subscription list, 5.26 million subscribers. He's done the heavy lifting on YouTube.
For sure.
Yeah, it's Patrick Bet David.
The cure for stage fright.
From this one symptom called stage fright, this video is for you. Stick around. Last week, my boys, they're going to sleep. I'm putting them down, my 8-year-old and my 9-year-old. And I say, I'm listening to these guys. And my middle one, the 8-year-old, is a great singer. He sings so well, but he never sings for me or around me or around anybody else. He'll take a shower. And while he's taking a shower, he's singing so loud, I'll go and listen to him because it's absolutely beautiful. And I'm the kind of guy that would say it's terrible. If it was terrible, it's insane, right? So I say, hey, Dylan, I want you to take a singing class, and I want to hire somebody to come sing with you. Oh, no, I would never do that. Why not, Daddy? He says, because I have this thing. It's called stage fright. I said, what's stage fright? He says, it's real. Stage fright is when you get on stage and you're afraid when you're talking or performing. I have that, Daddy, and I struggle with stage fright. I said, first of all, there is no such thing as stage fright. So my 9-year-old that's almost asleep wakes up to correct me. Daddy, you don't know what you're talking about. Stage fright is a real thing. People struggle with them when they're on stage, okay? It is real. Dylan has it. I said, who told you guys this word anyways? Did you guys Google the word stage fright? What is stage fright? So, yeah, I know, but it's not for everybody, but I'm struggling with it. I said, okay, sounds good. I said, first of all, stage fright is fake. There's no such thing as stage fright. Whoever told you stage fright is full of it. It doesn't exist. Okay, but Dad, it's not true. It is real. I said, tell me why you're so afraid. What if I get up on a stage and I'm speaking and I make a mistake? I said, okay, that is real. Stage fright is not real. Let me unpack it for you. I said, if you got a great voice and you can perform and entertain people and you've practiced your routine plenty of times and you go perform, you don't have to worry about anything because you put time into it. If you got a message that you fully believe in and you've sequenced it out in a way to deliver the message to, here's the issue, here's my argument, here's why I think we need to change, and you're prepared, you don't have to have any stage fright. I said, so stage fright is fake. Lack of preparation for delivering a message or performing is real. So you're not worried about stage fright. You're worried about not being prepared. Yeah, Daddy, that's what I'm worried about. I said, great. So now let's talk about that, and let's talk about what if you deliver and you prepare for your message and you prepare to perform and sing, and still some people don't like that. Is that your fault? Yeah, it is my fault. No, it's not. Why is it not my fault? I said, okay, what's your favorite song? Right now we're listening to Pentatonics, the song Hallelujah, which was originally written by Leonard Cohen, who passed last year, one of the greatest, and I loved his voice. So, but I'm playing Pentatonics, Hallelujah, and they're listening to this song. I heard them, so they're listening to it. I said, Dylan, how great of a song is this? Daddy, it's one of the best songs ever. I agree. How many views do you think it's got on YouTube? 100 million, 640 million. No way. Yes. I said, how many likes do you think it's got? Everybody has to like it. What do you think it is? He says 1 million. I said 6 million. I said, how many dislikes do you think it's got? Oh, Daddy, no one's gonna not like that song. It's probably only 74. I said, you think it's on 74? He said, yes. So I pull up the song. We should put the screenshot for you to see it. The moment when I showed it to him, the song had like 174,000 dislikes. I show him, I said, Dylan, take a look at this. It's got 174,000. I'm gonna look at it right now to tell you the exact number. He said, it's got 174,000 dislikes. It's 176 now. I said, it's got 174,000 dislikes. Dylan's like, there is no way, Daddy. I said, of course. I said, how great is this song? Daddy, it's one of the greatest songs of all time. I said, even the greatest song of all time, it's got 176,000 people that don't like it. That's so weird. I said, did they hit the marks right? Did they prepare for it? Yes. I said, no matter what you do, even if you do it perfect, there's still going to be people that are not going to like it and hate it. That's for all of us. I said, how many of your classmates like your daddy right now? Oh, Daddy, everybody likes you because what you said last week when he came on Veterans Day, they wrote a card to you, they love you. I said, that's only going to last maybe a few months. I said, give it a year, 2 years, 3 years. When your friends get a little older, they're probably not going to like your daddy because some of the things I talk about, they're going to disagree with. That's never going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. I'm trying to manage expectation. It's going to happen. I said, now let me give you another one here. What if you're on stage and you make a mistake? Then what happens? What if you're on stage and all of a sudden you stutter and you lost your you don't know what your next point is? Then what? What if you prepared for it? Oh, that would be so embarrassing. I said, okay, do you know the song Diamonds? Yeah, of course. Do you know Diamonds is by Rihanna, but do you know this guy named Callum Scott, the Diamonds for Britain's Got Talent? Yeah, Dad, we've listened to that. So let me play the video for you. So I played this scene by Callum Scott, and he goes, shine like a diamond, and you see Callum Scott goes, beautiful diamonds, and then he goes like this. There's a scene. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. He just goes like this, shakes his head. Matter of fact, we may just put a small clip in it for people to see. And then he comes back, and he crushes the second half, right? And they're listening to this. I said, look how many views it's got. I said, hundreds of millions of people saw this guy screw up in the middle of it. And he's still a major recording artist today, selling millions of people love his music. But listen to the last critique that he got at the end of Britain's Got Talent. And they're watching it together. It's like 10 o'clock at night at this point. I said, so watch this. What does Simon say? He says, people were asking me the other day about how you're going to perform. And he says, you totally messed up the first half of that song. He says, but you recovered the second half, and I hope people judge you for your second half than the first half. Then the other three two of the girls gave the best feedback. They said, if any professional singer is watching this right now, they know and totally feel your pain because we've all gone through it before when you're performing in front of tens of thousands of people and you forget one of the lines. So Dylan and Tico are sitting there like, wow, Daddy, he messed up. I said, many mess up, but he recovered. That's what matters. We all mess up, but we got to recover. No one's expecting you to be perfect. None of us walk on water. So here's what I want you to do tonight. So do you guys not understand why stage fright is fake? Yeah, stage fright is fake. We just have to be more prepared. You're right. You have to be more prepared, not stage fright. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Put your head on your pillow. Put your head on your pillow. Cover yourself up with your blanket the way you like it. Great. One of them sleeps with sock, which I still don't understand to today. So those sock wearing community before you go to sleep. I don't understand you, but I got a son that likes to wear socks before he goes to sleep. And we're in Florida. Like, what are you wearing socks for? It's not like we're freezing, right? Anyways, they prepare. Close your eyes. Close my eyes. I want you to imagine next year at the annual convention at MGM Grand Arena, you're going to sing a song for everybody. What song do you want to sing? You got the song in your head? Yes. Close your eyes and keep singing it and think there's people in front of you and you're singing it. Okay, great. Tico, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about an issue that really keeps you up at night. I want you to talk about that issue next year, whatever that issue is for you. Technology, advancement, politics, whatever you think about a lot. So he's thinking about Mothman right now a lot. So great. Nessie, you think about that and present it to them next year. Close your eyes, give that presentation. Great. I said, I want you to go to sleep dreaming about giving an incredible presentation and performance. And we're going to do this every night. So they went to sleep. Next day I talked to them. How was it? Next day, same thing. What's the moral of the story to you here? Here's the point. For some of you guys that think you have stage fright, you don't have stage fright. You have a lack of preparation fright. And you have a lack of you having to walk on water fright, like perfection. First of all, you ain't perfect, I ain't perfect. And if you don't prepare, you should be afraid. You shouldn't get on the stage and speak if you're not fully prepared. So stop saying I have stage fright, I'm afraid of the camera. No. Do more preparation up front and know that no matter what you do, not everybody's going to like you or agree with what you have to say, but even enough of the people do. If you spend the rest of your life trying to please everybody, you will live a miserable life. So having said that, two things I want you to be thinking about. One, I got a video. By the way, if you got a lot of value out of this, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as well. But I got two videos I want you to watch. One of them is a video I did on different style of public speaking. If you've never seen this before on public speaking, click over here to watch the video specific to public speaking. The other one is I have a course online. I don't even think I've ever brought it up. If you want to get more information on this public speaking course, fill out the information over here and we'll send you some information. Somebody from our team will reach out to you on public speaking. It is something people have a challenge with, not because they're afraid, but because they don't know how to prepare. If you spend time preparing, you just have to know we're living in an era that everybody's doing Instagram Live, Snapchat, videos, Reels. This is all public speaking. These are things we all have to get more comfortable doing because it's here and it ain't going away. Having said that, have a great week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Damn, I feel like I got boxing training from like Mickey on stage.
You're ready to go.
Rocky.
Nice. Yeah. And especially like on the, the part about we all mess up, like that whole idea of, we all mess up. And, to me, that's also part of the going to the open mics. Like if you are someone who plays music and you're not sure about whatever, going to an open mic is something that you should do. And I like, I go to some of these where there's people who go up. It's obviously their first time going up on stage. They make mistakes. They're not comfortable. They're singing too quietly away from the mic. There's all these problems, but I still encourage them because I want them to come out more because I see other people who were that way the first time they came out, but they kept coming out week after week. And after just 3, 4, 5 weeks, all of a sudden they're singing much better. They're playing much better. They have more presence. All of it is coming together because they were not afraid to stick with it. That's the main
thing. And doing the open mics is a form of practice. It's a form of live practice in front of people. And his point of like rolling with the punches there, like the singer who sings the wrong lines, which do you think's worse? Like a guitarist who hits the wrong note or a singer who forgets their line?
It's hard to say. Some singers, they get buried in the phone where they have to have the phone in front of them or a paper in front of them to do the lyrics. Like ideally, if you're going to be performing songs, you have the lyrics memorized, but it depends on, how much time you have to prepare. Sometimes again, it's a thrown together band that says, hey, let's do this song. And so you might not even have the words in front of you. So you're just kind of winging it. But for a guitar player, it should be the right notes. If it's going to be wrong notes, like they said, hit it again and make it jazz. I mean, you can always make that work. So, it's not as bad. Like, but a singer hitting a bad note and or forgetting the lyrics, could be a double whammy.
Yeah. That's where you could run into some problems. Like the singer might get self-conscious at that point because not only did they forget the line, but they hit a sour note. And
the other thing is keeping the whole band together where, sometimes, two of us jump to the chorus because we go to the chorus at this point and somebody else was still in the verse for another, they thought the verse went around again. So they, they're playing a different chord than we're playing, but then it's okay. Do the two of us jump on board with him or does he jump on board with the two of us? And ideally it's, they jump on with us and we just go from there, but everyone's got to be on the same page. If some, as long as you make it all work, like you have ideally somebody in the band who is like the
the recalibrator, like somebody in the band recalibrates and we're back to the verse.
It's like if there's one person in the band who knows what's going on in the song or where we are in the song, it's that person. So everybody jump on board with them and then we'll be good.
And it's usually the one who can give the stinky face to the others.
Yeah, and like I said, with me, I'm almost always like looking at my hand. So if I wanted to look at the drummer, like a lot of times the drummer is like behind me on the right. So like he's looking at the back of my head a lot of the time because I'm looking at my hand, which is a terrible arrangement. But I try to, turn in a little bit so that he can at least see my hands while I'm playing, so that he can see when my fingers are actually, I'll emphasize hits and I'll do slides and things like that to signal changes of sections. But if I wanted to give someone, a signal, I could just I would only have to turn my head just ever so slightly towards him, and he knows I'm looking at him, because it's like I don't have to look at you for you to know that, oh, that's that's a signal for you, and like that's for you. A lot of times for the when the vocals will come in, I've a lot of times been doing the signaling for that, but I just do it as a nod. So like as we're coming around, like we're on the last measure before the vocals, and I'll just nod, and she'll see that. I don't have to look at her or whatever. I can keep doing my thing, but she knows we're coming in.
Oh, a strategic nod keeps a band together.
Yeah. Yeah, and it works out well. But again, I don't always know when we're coming into the vocals. So a lot of times, if the guitar player is doing some soloing, I don't know if he wanted to take 4 or 8 or 16. I don't care how long he wants to solo, as long as we come in on something that we come back around. Even if it comes back around and does another round of whatever, and then we jump back to the other section, that's fine.
Yeah, and sometimes you might improvise and stretch it out, depending. Like you're waiting for the head nod, not waiting for the measured end.
Yeah, and that's another one where the bands that I work with, they know I don't have to look at them to see their signals either. And a lot of times I don't need to see any signal, because I can just hear the change happening. Like I hear somebody's making signals that something's going to happen. Whether it's a drum fill or whether it's the guitar player, leaning into that next that next change, or walking up towards that next change to give that signal. I can feel those kind of things coming, and just I kind of jump on it before they happen, or I'm ready, and boom, we all land at the same time in the same place. But then sometimes you misread those signals, and everybody ends up in different sections. And it's like, even like the other night, Joey had to remind me that I was in the wrong part on one of the songs. He's like, "Oh, the other part." And I just immediately, found where we needed to be in that other section, and then jumped right to it, so it fixed itself. But
the other part.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it was, actually, because it wasn't the verse, it wasn't the chorus, it was the one where we I think it was "Come Out and Play," actually, that we were doing. So that was a cover song, but and there's a section where you have to go to I don't even know what key it was in. That's things I don't even pay attention to what key it's playing in. Like I find the note that's okay. We're playing over here, like boom, 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 boom. I think it started with I don't know, probably F sharp, A, E, and F sharp, or whatever, something like that. But as we're
cruise control,
yeah, it's like once I found those 4 notes, it's like, okay, everything else relates to that. So I don't even care what note it is. I just know the pattern is okay, we're here, and it's these 4 notes, and then when we go to this other part, we're up here, and bing, 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 and we hit those notes, and then we're back. So I look at it that way, and that's one of the reasons why when you get up there to play stuff that you don't know, and some people are like, well, how can you do that? Like, don't you hate that? And I'm like, not really. I kind of enjoy the challenge of it. Like I get up there and I see what I hear, and I try to jump in and make it work, and it seems like it usually works. So it's like I'm figuring out what I need to play, and it's not that I'm thinking about oh, that's a C sharp, oh, that's a an F sharp, whatever. Like I'm not thinking about the actual note. I hear a pitch and I try to match where I need to be for that, and I say, okay, that's the root, and we're doing a 1 6 4 5 or whatever. I'll get the rotation, what kind of pattern we're doing, get that in my head, and then I can just come back around, and now I can try to fancy up the bass line, make sure, okay, these 3 are major and this one's minor. Got to make sure we keep that in mind, so we don't make any mistakes there, because that one's messy. If you get a major or a minor messed up, like that stands out.
It will. You'll hear it.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's one of those that you can do the whole, oh, it's jazz, but if you're hitting the minor when it should be a major, it's like, ooh, you got to fix that quick.
So based on his advice there, do you think stage fright is real? Because he's kind of convinced me. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe he's right, that stage fright isn't the actual problem. It's the fear of something else that equates to stage fright.
I do agree with him that the preparedness is what basically blocks out or prevents stage fright from being a thing, because just be more prepared and you don't have anything to worry about. But you shouldn't be crippled by the fear of anything. You should understand why you're afraid of something or what harm there is. But when you look at the harm of being on stage, what harm is there? They don't like you. Okay. Did they like you before? I mean, like, did you ever see these people before? Do you care? Why? That's the other important thing is, understanding that other people's opinion of you, is it that important? Like if you're going to get on stage, you don't want to get on stage and be a jerk or whatever, but you want to get on stage, you want to entertain the people. But if they don't like you, that's not necessarily on you. It's not necessarily on them. It's maybe their taste is something different. So it's okay.
And the fear of people's opinions. I love how he kind of like equated that to like, you know, here's this great song and everybody should love it. But
Mhm.
you know, there's always going to be some that might not.
Oh yeah, you can't please everybody all the time, and you shouldn't try to, because if you do, you're wasting your energy.
Was it Roosevelt that said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself?
I believe that was Cat.
I think he gave his kids some solid advice there.
Hmm. Indeed, and it's, you know, well placed.
At Valuetainment over on YouTube.
Very cool. I think we got time for one more.
Yes, and this one's kind of coming from a guitarist's perspective and a pro. I mean,
Yep.
pro guitarist, and you know, we've seen what stage presence is. We've seen what stage fright can be or not be, and what we're going to see here is, you know, ways to reduce the stage fright and the nerves, because it's the nerves that kick in that stage fright, and how to play in front of people comfortably.
Yeah. One of the ones that, just a quick tip from me, was that going into a gig, one of the first gigs I played on stage actually was, you know, just me standing in to do a song on bass with my buddy Mike's band. And I just made it where, okay, I was there just to help out with lights and sound. So to me, the whole way going in, I wasn't thinking about the fact that I was going to be playing on stage at all. It was, I knew I was going to, that there's going to be a possibility that I would or not, but I just treated it as I'm just going in to help with the sound and light. So I just did all that. And it wasn't until he actually asked the bass player, did he want me to stand in for this one song, that he was like, yeah, bring him up. And then I was like, oh, now I'm playing. And then all of a sudden it became real. And that's where, you know, I had to make a decision at that point.
And
So
when you stand in, you stand in.
I do. He was also tall, but not nearly as tall as I am. But
Nobody
it was fun.
is.
I mean, just one song, you know, sat in for the one song, but it was just the fact that it was a sound gig first. So I wasn't thinking about, you know, the fear of being on stage or any of that. Like none of those nerves came up. So it was kind of a blessing, because then once I was playing, it was already too late. I was already on stage playing the song, so it didn't matter. And from there, it was good. We got time for one more. I think it's David Taub, and I think it was his different channel that I saw him on first. Next Level Guitar.
Well, yes, he's Next Level Guitar. He's got several channels. You'll find him across YouTube, and this one's coming from at Epic Guitar Instructions. Here we find best guitar lessons and instruments. Yes, they give lessons. You know, for the guitarists out there, there is tons of YouTube resources, and this is one of them.
I remember some of the charts from the early ones that I found on Next Level Guitar over there were some of the good ones, and I gotten some CDs as well of actual individual song courses, like learning how to play this song or that song on guitar. It was good, very good lessons, comprehensive.
Well, here he's going to get comprehensive on how to reduce that stage fright.
All right.
And fight those nerves.
Play out in front of people.
Hey, how you doing? David Taub here. Hope all is going well, and I hope your guitar and musical journeys are going famously. And today I have a little video on trying to overcome anxiety and stage fright, performance anxiety. I think many guitar players, musicians, performers experience, and that's stage fright and nervousness. So I think I have a few things that can help with this, but let me read his question first. Mr. Taub, do you have a course addressing overcoming stage fright? This is my biggest issue right now. I can't even play for my wife in the same room. I can go in the garage by myself, and she says I sound good, but freeze up when anybody else is around. What the heck can I do? I know at some point you pros have had this issue, and how did you overcome it? Regards, Dennis. Well, yes, I think most people have had that issue. It's just a level of degree. Do you have it like the jitters, little bit of stage fright? Is it somewhat uncomfortable? Or are you way out here where it's paralyzing, right? So we're talking about performance anxiety. We're talking about stage fright. We're talking about that uncomfortableness, right? Playing in front of people or in front of a few people, in front of a large crowd. And we all know how that might manifest itself with our bodies, you know, from a lump in the throat, clammy hands, dry mouth, the sweats, the racing heartbeat, the mind going blank, the forgetting of the chords, muscles tensing up, shaky legs, sweaty palms. You know, these are some of the symptoms, and we've all experienced this to some degree. And the first thing you have to realize is that you are not alone. This happens to just about every guitar player, every musician out there, every performer. Anxiety and stage fright is common even amongst professional musicians at the highest level. People like Ozzy Osbourne, Eddie Van Halen, Adele, Rihanna, Luciano Pavarotti, Katy Perry, Rod Stewart, Barbra Streisand. These are some of the people that have battled with stage fright at some point in their careers. I remember for myself early on in my guitar journey, I had terrible stage fright also. Getting up in front of people was pretty crippling. I was so, you know, afraid of making a mistake, of failure, of people saying, oh, this guy's terrible, right? And I think that's what it's about with that fear, that paralyzing fear, that fright, is that we're afraid of making mistakes. We're afraid of people seeing us make mistakes and thinking that we're not good and them judging us, right? And that's what's so crippling about it. Playing in our bedroom or in our garage, in the basement, sitting there playing alone by yourself is a very low stress situation. And in that setting alone, you're not thinking about the techniques and the devices that are, you know, have become instinctual in your playing. You're doing them automatically. It's only when we get in front of a crowd, even if it's the smallest crowd or a few people, where the self-consciousness strikes. And the stage fright can result in you overthinking your technique for fear of making a mistake. The second thing I want you to keep in mind is acceptance. Accept the fear and don't resist it, but rather work with it. Resistance is futile. There's always going to be some uneasiness about getting up there in front of people. It's always going to be there. So I think a common mistake that people may make when trying to deal with the performance anxiety with the stage fright is that they try to totally eradicate it and totally calm themselves down to a point where it's totally gone. And just know that that's never going to happen. It's always going to be there, maybe even just a little bit, a little jitters, a little shakiness. It's always going to be there. Just know that there's nothing abnormal about feeling nervous about playing in front of people. It's just not the most natural thing to get up there in front of a crowd and to perform well. Not a very natural situation, so it's okay to be nervous. There's nothing wrong with that. So just accept that there's always going to be some uneasiness when you're doing your thing in front of other people, and that's okay. So what you want to try to do after you accept it is you want to try to rebrand that fear in your head, that anxiety, right? You want to rebrand that and call it excitement. A lot of neurologists agree that the neurological things that go on in your brain, the pathways, the firing when you're afraid, it's those same pathways that are firing, that same neurological process when you're excited. So if you can kind of rebrand and rethink that fear, that anxiety, that stress, but think of it more as you're excited to play in front of people, that you're excited to bring the joy of music to other people. That's a big thing. And if you can do that, it might take a little time, but really try to get in your head and do this rebranding. For me, it's all about the excitement. I'm really excited now, to play in front of people. It's not really as much of a nervousness thing, maybe just a little jitters, not much anymore because I've done it so much and so often, playing in bands for so long. It's more of an excitement thing. So try to kind of flick that switch in your head and kind of repurpose your nervous energy into excitement. Easier said than done, but you can do it. Please subscribe to the channel. Subscribing to the channel, that really helps us. That really helps us to keep bringing the content. And please leave a comment in the comment box below. Let us know what questions you might have. And if you like the video, please share it or click the like button, give it a thumbs up, and we so appreciate it. Thank you so much. The third thing that you can do to help your stage fright, your anxiety, is do it often. Play in front of people as much as you can, or in front of a few people as much as you can. And you're probably saying, wow, this really makes me feel uncomfortable. And you're telling me to do it again and again and again. Yes. And the reason is it gets easier and easier and easier each time you do it. It becomes more like, all right, someone's here, I'll just do my thing. But you have to do it a lot. But start small. Just do it like Dennis wrote, and just do it for your wife, but do it more often, over and over again. And know at first you're gonna make mistakes. You're not gonna be as good as you want. You can't get what's here or here into your hands, and you're locking up. But that's gonna get easier and easier with time. Eventually, maybe do it in front of a few friends, or if you have a few people over for dinner or something, maybe play a couple of songs for them. Start to get together with other people. Have a little jam session where you're just going to get together on the porch and play some songs, maybe with 2 or 3 other people of your level. It's a great thing to do because you're going to learn so much on top of that from the sharing of the experiences and teaching each other things. You'll forget about the nervous energy. Do it again and again and again and again. And the more and more that you do that in front of people, in front of an audience, the easier it's going to be. This is proven. Look at people's first performances of whatever they're involved in any type of performance compared to something 2, 3, 4 years later, and you'll see how much better, how much more natural, how much more themselves they are, right? Because you get better and better and better at it, right? Like with anything. So you got to do it a lot. So just don't let the fear and the anxiety cripple you to not doing it at all. Do it more. The 4th tip on dealing with stage fright, nervousness, performance anxiety is what I call getting yourself in the who cares mindset. If you make a mistake playing in front of your friend or in front of your family members, or, you know, if you're at a party or something, who cares? Most of the time, if you just keep playing, most non-musicians in the audience won't even know if you made a mistake. The main thing is, you know, if you hit a wrong chord or something or wrong note, just correct it so the next time around you don't do it again. But if you make a mistake, what's the big deal? Who really cares? Do you really think like the next day, the day after, let's say you hung out with friends and you played some songs, 2 of your friends are going to be talking to each other at the breakfast table. Do you remember last night at Jim's house when he played Hotel California on guitar? Man, that was something how he hit that F-sharp major chord. He should have played an F-sharp minor there. I'll tell you, he really messed that up, Stan. I mean, come on. People aren't going to remember. They don't care. The main thing is that you had fun, you played music, and everybody enjoyed themselves, and you brought the beauty and the joy of music to other people. So you got to get into your head. If you make a mistake, just keep going. Pretend like you meant to do that. You know, don't stop and fret about it and make a big deal. Then people will know, right? Same thing when you're playing live. That's when people know, when everybody stops or there's a big train wreck. But if you keep going, I mean, if you call attention to it, yes, people will notice. Just keep going. Most of the time, most people won't even know. You're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna happen. Players make mistakes at the highest level. Major recording artists, it happens. We're human, right? We're flawed. We're human beings. We make mistakes and it's okay. So know it's gonna happen. Don't try to be perfect. Remember, perfection is not an option. It's an obstacle, okay? Get out there, do your thing, have fun, know you're gonna make mistakes. It's okay, and who cares? And the 5th and final thing I can say about it is being positive and the fun factor. And what I mean by that is you have to squash the negativity of, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, oh, I can't do this, I'm going to make a mistake. You have to not let yourself think negative things. Oh, what if I mess up? What are people going to think? How are they going to judge me? I'm not good enough, right? You have to squash all that, and you have to really be positive. Get out there and smile. Make it like you're enjoying yourself. Think of it like this. If those negative thoughts come into your head, think of it like it's a computer screen, right? And you know how this, like a window, and you have all these windows opened up on your screen, and you know there's that black X you can hit in the upper left-hand corner of the windows, and you could close that. Think of it like that. You're going to click on that X, and you're going to close that negativity window. Close it, slam that door shut behind it. And it's all about the fun factor. It's all about enjoying the instrument. I mean, why are we doing this? Because it's fun, right? If it's not fun, why do it? So you want to enjoy that process and enjoy bringing music to other people and enjoy the benefits of playing and creating music. It's all about that fun factor. Don't forget that. Don't don't take yourself too seriously. You know, you playing in front of your wife, you're not at Carnegie Hall, right? No one's going to be recording it and going back and putting it on video and reviewing every second of it, right? Let's just, take a step back, say, you know what, let's just have some fun. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it more and more, get easier and easier. And I'm going to enjoy the process, because that's what this is. It's a process from going from this really bad stage fright, tons of anxiety, and you start to lessen it, keep going down that spectrum until it gets maybe a little bit of jitters. You know, it's always going to be there a little bit, but that's the whole thing. Remember, like I said in the beginning, it's a spectrum, and you want to try to lessen that. And remember too, when you're playing in front of people, whether it's one person or whether it's a room full of people, you want to enlist the crowd as your ally. The audience really wants you to succeed. They're there to have fun. So I hope these tips help you to conquer your stage fright and your performance anxiety demons. I'll quote Ozzy Osbourne. He wrote it in his autobiography. Let me read it to you. He said, "To say that I just suffer a little from pre-show nerves is like saying that when you get hit by an atom bomb, it hurts a bit." Right? He's someone who's really struggled with it. Please subscribe to the channel. Really helps us to keep bringing the content. Like, share the video. Please leave your comments below. I'll also put some links in the YouTube description box below to some free video lessons and some of my ebooks. Be sure to check those out. Right? And thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate your support over the years. And I'm going to keep the content coming. Stay tuned for lots more killer content and lessons. Remember, your guitar playing is an evolution. Take care and rock on.
Oh, keep up the content, David, and we will keep tuning in.
Rock on, good people. Yeah, he's definitely got some good people there.
Yeah, perfection is an obstacle. I completely agreed when he said that. Like, it's something we want to strive for, but don't let it get in your way.
Oh, and being able to get rid of that negative self-talk. I mean, that's an important life lesson just in general. I mean, it's important to go into it with the positivity factor, with the fun factor. I mean, that's why we're here, right? We're trying to have fun, make it fun for the audience, make it fun for the people on stage, all of that.
And embrace the fear, like he said, you know, use it to your benefit. There will always be a little bit there, but if your confidence supersedes your fear, then you're okay.
In a lot of cases, it does come down to the preparedness. You know, if you're going to be doing, if you're just getting started, do you have particular material you're going to do? Did you prepare it well? Do you play it well on your own? All that, all those steps should add into the confidence, because once you've got that, you get that negative self-talk going, and you just think about the fact that you've done the preparation. You just reassure yourself. You say, well, I did all the preparation that I could, and now I'm here. I know I can do it. Let's just go out there and do it.
Yeah, and that kind of sums up like everything we looked at tonight. You said it right at the beginning, like preparedness is key, and they all agreed.
Yep, absolutely. It's a big part of it, just because it's so much of what people would see as stage fright can be combated just by being better prepared and by taking little steps too. And again, that's where, I can't say enough good things about going out and doing an open jam somewhere. If you're a musician who can, keep a song together or get a couple songs together, just go out and try it somewhere, even if the crowd, ignores you completely. It's, you got up there and you did it. More times than not, you'll find at least someone in the crowd, even if you just got up there and did it, will come by and congratulate you just on getting up and doing it, because that took something.
Yeah, it's not just about preparing yourself with your instrument or the song. It's preparing yourself with the crowd, with the others, and you get good at all of that. You practice all of that, and stage fright can't stop you.
Yeah. And even just going to some of these jams, and even if you're not going to participate, even if you're, still far away from being able to participate somewhere like that, go there and see, because you'll see different levels of musician and how they deal with these kinds of same issues. You'll see some that'll be almost paralyzed by fear while they're up there and just doing whatever they can to just get through their stuff so they can get off the stage and, get over that fear. And you'll see other people who are just, they're having a beer, they're chatting with their buddy. Oh, it's my turn. Okay. And they go over there, grab a bass off the wall and start playing, and this, it's a big difference between their styles, but at the same time, it took the same effort to get up there. But for somebody who's not used to it, they have a bigger hurdle to get over to get up, get those first steps going.
Yeah, the more you relax and unclench, the easier it gets.
Yes, which is why a lot of times alcohol is involved. I'll throw that in there.
Just not too much.
A lot of times these are at bars, so having that shot or a drink before you go up there, can help. I mean, it's not necessarily, of course, assuming you're of age, it can be helpful. But it can also be, some people they'll have a shot of something like whiskey and for their throat, and other people say, oh, that's the worst thing you could do, and it's it depends on the person, really. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, don't use it as the cure. Like warming up, it's one thing, but trying to make it the cure, alcohol can just make that stage fright even worse if you get too carried away.
Yeah, the hope is like one, just to kind of shake it off, and then now you're good, loosened up a little bit.
Yeah, shot of whiskey.
Yep, could be honey jack. What was the other night? We I think about ginger.
That's what I would go for, is that honey jack.
Oh yeah, it is delicious.
It is good. So that was that Epic Guitar. Epic Guitar Instructions, and yes, he also is nextlevelguitar.com. And
yes, indeed.
Really, he has tons of killer guitar lessons. Our next guitar night, I can almost assure you, he will probably be in there.
And he did mention free charts and PDFs, and those are very useful. I've looked at them myself. Connected pentatonics and different things. Depending on where you are in your journey, there's going to be something over there that you could find useful for sure.
Yes, awesome stuff, David.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
But that was some good information. I feel like I could play more confidently on stage now.
Absolutely. And even just knowing, what to look for in other people who are playing, to see, which ones are the most confident and what is it about what they're doing. Like you're saying, the stage banter can give a lot away. What kinds of things, as they're getting on stage, getting off stage, are they, not that they have to keep the crowd warmed up, like I said, but if they are, what methods are they using that you could employ yourself to, add some of that to your own repertoire and add incrementally. Each time you get a little bit more open. Like, I've started singing more backgrounds now as I'm doing bass, even though sometimes it throws off what I'm doing on bass. So I'll just stop. I'll just stop singing. If my hands, start doing the wrong thing, I'll just go back to, okay, keep it simple, do this, and then throw in the vocals when I can.
No, we want to hear you sing more.
Oh yeah. I'll bring some more videos. I have been videoing each time. So I do have probably 6 months worth of, 2 nights a week going out to these jams. So we try to do different songs all the time too. Like not all the time, but week to week, we try not to do the same songs over and over. So we'll practice, a new 4 or 5 songs for next week after doing what we did this week. And the places notice it also, because some people come to the open jam. They've been coming there for 3 or 4 years and they play the same, 4 songs that they played every night that they've come there for the last 4 years, because they're the songs that they do and they're the ones they're comfortable with. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the people definitely notice, and the hosts, they notice that, these guys don't get up here and do the same stuff every time. They get up here and do something different every time. And, a lot of times we will end with something like the Immigrant Song, because that's, that's something it's fast, a minute or two. They're like, yeah, one more quick one. Like, okay.
You can end or start with it and you're doing okay. It's funny you mentioned that one, because that's the next one that's going up. I'm in the middle of my Zeppelin.
Oh, nice.
Re-uploads and Immigrant Songs next.
Yeah, and on that one, I cheat on the bass part. Like that's one where that bass run, it's fast in the first place when they do that one part where there's a bass climb, and then there's they do it 3 times, a 4th time, and then I throw in the big slides. So I mean, it is fun from that standpoint for me, because I get to throw in the big slides.
Well, you think it's hard on the bass? Try being the singer there, because
exactly.
That one's
not
a
easy.
doozy.
No. It's a doozy. And it's a short one too. That's it's not like a marathon of a song. It's like, minute, 2 minutes, like it's nice and short. So, oh, you guys have one quick one at the end. We'll throw that one in there. Sometimes we'll do Ozzy.
Right.
Sometimes
it's right in your face.
Yeah, oh yeah. Good one to go out on, and the crowd loves it. End on a high note like that, and and it's like, okay, next band up, and it's the next band comes like, oh crap, we got to go after that. But always fun, good topic. Appreciate that, and a lot of good new channels tonight. A lot of good perspectives.
Yeah,
on
they
all of
were
it.
almost all freshies. I mean, David, you know, I
Mhm.
had to get him in there. It was great. Like he covered some great advice. So
Mhm.
other than that, like everything else was new channels. Again, we
Yep.
get fed some great suggestions now.
Exactly. And some, more psychology based or more public speaking based as opposed to music, but you can see the similarities and you can see how things interact, from those, different domains.
And always a little science. There's always a little
Gotta be.
science in there.
Has to. And psychology as well in this case. A lot of
Yeah,
psychology
well,
going on.
I love my psychology.
Absolutely. And that's what we talk
Yep,
about on Thursdays.
that was a fun one.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for coming out and joining us for tonight.
Yes, thanks for the jam.
We will have to do this again. I'm thinking, what do you think? Next Thursday?
Next Thursday. And we
I
will
think
be
that
back
sounds.
tomorrow. Little DJ Tatius. And
Mhm.
I think we have an interview lined up. I'm gonna have to check with Ange on that.
Nice. And we will see you for
And maybe
tomorrow.
some news and reviews.
And until then, it's been Talking Shh IT with Glenn and Tony. Night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Little ambient noise, yeah.
So now you're grabbing some band lab clips.
Now, for me, that would also be something where I would use like volume automation and like bring that from the bottom, like bring it in and then bring it back out.
And these are the kinds of sounds you can stretch. With this AI, like stretching it actually can be cool.
Oh, that was perfect for the interlude too.
Ends it right in the
I
right
didn't
spot.
even notice 40. I didn't even realize the texture faded out at the interlude until it happened. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sometimes you just, it was just meant to be that way.